Hello and welcome to Buzz Banter. I'm Das Hat.
I'm Sam.
I'm Maya.
And today we've got a panel discussion, actually as an overview and our own thoughts about a couple of little articles that have been making the rounds in the gaming community. We'll start off with an article about a little press release that Ubisoft did, and something that the head of their organization said. I think it was the head of their organization.
Yeah, it was their CEO.
Yeah, what their CEO said about what he sees as the future. Not the future of gaming. What's necessary.
The Ubisoft one was the creative.
Yeah, what's necessary for creativity in gaming, which I think had all of us kind of staring at the screen, going, "What?" Then we're going to move on to EA and what they feel the future of the gaming market is. And after that, well, we've got some news and some controversy over a couple of AAA titles. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Sam?
Well, I don't know, which one do you guys want to start off with? EA, Ubisoft, or Battlefield?
You linked us to
That
the
sounds like
articles,
sounds like a good lineup. Start with EA.
EA?
Yeah, since you said EA, Ubisoft, and Battlefield.
Okay, so EA, if anyone hasn't been looking at other gaming sites like IGN or GameStop, they've been posting it quite a bit. And EA, the president, I totally forget his name, but he believes that the future of video gaming is freemium games. Basically games where you purchase them or not purchase them depending on what the game is. Either they're free to play and then you essentially just get a core game and you have to buy the rest of it as it goes out. We're kind of unanimous on how we hate this idea.
Well, it's not a matter that you hate the idea and everything. It's an idea that doesn't really seem to make sense, because
it makes sense from a business perspective, not from a user perspective.
Well, it makes sense from a business perspective, but where you see a lot of this is with regards to casual gaming stuff that you find for like cell phones and tablets, where you certain games, especially games by Glue Media, and Ember Games has a game like this called Towers and Trolls. I'll use the two examples. Basically, Glue Media games, you can purchase in-game. The game itself is free, but if you've got a credit card, you basically purchase to get whatever in-game currency the game uses, and it gives you a bit of a step up when you start playing. And it makes the game easier to go through, it makes it faster to go through rather than the monotonous grind working your way up.
There's one game you literally have to wait 24 hours before you can continue anything.
You mean
Yes,
Journey? I have to wait a week to get that trophy. It says, wait 1 week to get this trophy.
What?
Yeah.
You seriously just have to wait 1 week?
Wait 1 week, come play again, and start the journey again, then you get this trophy. But anyway.
That's more of an artistic thing.
Yeah.
This is you have to...
Towers and Trolls, but basically there are sections of the Glue Media games, I'm thinking of Mutant Roadkill specifically, that are simply not available to you until and unless you pay the money. Whereas a game like Towers and Trolls, it's a line tower defense game, starts you off with just 5 levels, and sometimes monsters will drop little gems and everything. You collect 500 of them, you can unlock another world pack. So you can actually unlock the entire game over the course of just playing it. You just need to play it bloody religiously, because you're just constantly replaying.
This is okay. This is a working model for MMOs as well. You really want these equips, you can either spend real money on it, or you can farm for it for quite a while. And that's the Diablo 2 model right now. They have the
Diablo 3 model, yeah.
Diablo 3 model right now, and their real auction house is actually doing quite well.
Actually, their auction house is now broken because of the invulnerability thing.
No, they fixed it already, I heard.
No, they haven't fixed that.
Really? Oh.
They keep saying that.
There's a new invulnerability thing that they just found out, where if you do a couple things, the wizard's invulnerable to everything. So
No, that was like 2 weeks ago. Oh no, that was 1 week ago. They already fixed it, I heard. They took everything down to fix it in like the past like couple days ago.
Oh,
well,
no.
but here's a problem with having that. it creates a very obvious divide between the haves and the have-nots, and it's created issues with people purchasing all of the items
Yeah.
with in-game and everything, having a monopoly on the in-game market and reselling them at a higher price.
They've done that with like older MMOs, like even MapleStory and Ragnarok Online, where you basically could either A, farm like crazy till you make enough to buy said item, or B, you just buy it from PayPal or like you buy those game cards and buy it for a couple dollars.
But what's the point of gaming then?
But it's still possible for you to get that equipped. Some people play just to look good, right? So
Right.
there's that.
But here's the
awesome.
thing: why
But-
should I lose to a guy who simply wins because he has a bigger limit on his credit card?
But
And-
from a business standpoint,
And from a
that's
business
okay.
standpoint, yes, but gaming is not just business.
Because the MMOs themselves are free.
But the thing
so
is,
the
that's an MMO.
Yeah.
We're talking about AAA titles like Skyrim. I don't want to have to
No,
pay.
not even RPG games. You could have first person. If EA really thinks that this is a future of gaming.
Technically, everything has an RPG element.
What?
Even Call of Duty with its whole experience.
Well, no. I'm talking about things. I am talking about things like Gears of War or Halo. Things that actually have no RPG element to them whatsoever.
What about the online
So
ranking
this-
system?
It just has a ranking system. It doesn't actually affect
But I
you
mean,
in
like
games.
you gain experience as you win matches, and then you.
Which
level up.
doesn't change your gaming. It doesn't give you any extended abilities or anything. It's just bragging rights. That's all that is for those games.
Yeah, pretty much. Most
But
of it.
it still has the same feel, which is what.
It
people
has
get.
it has a feel to it, but at the same time, it's just like you purchased up to the point where you're a sergeant now. Congratulations. What was the point?
How they got rid of, I think it was balance issues. I forget which MMO it was. All the items that you can buy have no stats on them. They just look good. So it doesn't change the balance of the game. But the fact that
For that game, but
yeah.
Once again,
Diablo
this is
3.
But like for
Diablo 3 is a single player
yeah,
RPG.
for that it doesn't. It's harder to work that into a system, such as
Yeah,
that.
it has all the tropes of an MMO without being an MMO.
Yeah.
but
And it's an incomplete game too, because it launched without the PvP.
There's a lot of incomplete games that are coming out like
But
that.
that was a game that was
Yeah, that was
Very
12
obviously,
years.
Yeah, and even well, I'll bring up Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 13 was an unfinished game. They released the game minus all the DLCs and the actual proper ending to the game, and then you had to buy the ending.
like 13 too.
Yeah, 13 too.
Yeah.
Buy all the items if you really wanted them. But what I would have preferred is that if you treated them as unlock keys, right? That would have been so
Yeah.
much better. Where like it's already in the game, you just need to play up to a certain point and then unlock it. Or you can buy it and then unlock it right away. But
Well,
then,
here's
you
the-
ruin the game because then you play the ending before you.
But Here's the
go
problem
ahead.
with that though. People then will just break the game and unlock it, as is what happened with Street Fighter X Tekken, whereas they broke the on-disc thing for the game on the portable, and people who the characters weren't even released just already had the characters.
Yeah, but it's not as bad as what they're doing now, where they're.
It's
Yeah.
still as bad. Just the
Yeah.
fact that they're even cutting things from the game and then selling it back to me.
It is, but, well, within a certain degree, I think it's somewhat permissible because DLCs have been around for several years and everything. They've been very successful from a business standpoint, and even for the gamers, they haven't minded because they haven't been game-breaking. Even for Mass Effect 3, you could play through that entire game and not have to purchase the Javik DLC. So you were down two missions, or one mission.
One mission.
You were down one mission that didn't actually impact a storyline in any meaningful way,
The Prothean character.
which is just fluff. You don't actually need him. I did my entire first playthrough without Javik on my thing, and then on my second playthrough, I had him with me. There's no discernible difference in storyline with having them there. It's nice having him there. There's a lot more stuff there because he's got a great amount of dialogue. He's a very interesting character. You find out a lot about the lore, but it is just frill. But the problem is when every title starts doing that, you kind of have to strike the balance where you can't have like exactly what happened with 13. Where you don't have the ending of the game. It's just like you play until the halfway point. You want the next 6 levels, $6.99.
Yeah, that's essentially what happened with Asura's Wrath, and that was just straight up the last 4 levels you have to pay for.
Which was ridiculous.
And I think the real issue is like, that's the issue. We don't want a core game, we want the freaking game. We want a beginning, we want a middle, we want an end.
And
If,
honestly, a
like-
stripped down game, I don't really mind that much.
It depends on how stripped down it is.
Yeah.
I like
Because
my,
when it's like obvious, sorry, when
Yeah,
it's just,
okay.
when it's obviously an original part of the game, it was meant to be in there,
Yeah.
and we can tell, like, gamers aren't idiots. We can No, there's some loudmouths, but that doesn't mean they're idiots, they're just loud.
See,
Oh,
when you're,
alright, fair enough.
Pro tip, did you know that when you're angry, your IQ goes down because you have less access to resources in your brain? This is from a psychology major. So
She does know what she's talking about.
less anger equal calm down, then your post will make sense and people
There-
will understand you.
But sometimes you need
Or
to
you will
get...
understand yourself. Sometimes you can record yourself.
Sometimes you need to get angry, though. There are just certain moments you need the rage.
Yeah, well,
Just
I needed
casual.
to get out of bed in the morning, but I would have probably found the Higgs boson if I could learn to calm down.
I thought they
It
found
doesn't
it.
happen.
They already found it.
I know, I'm saying I might have been able to do it if I wasn't always pissed off.
You mean build a whole 11-dimensional universe in your basement?
Yeah,
I might be able to, actually, if I took a Zoloft.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm in
I wake
pain
up every
right
day.
now from a sore neck, and I'm pissed off about that. But
And
Well,
yet we're
I-
still managing to have such an enlightened discussion. Isn't that
Yeah.
wonderful?
I don't know. That's because I bought Journey as a DLC, and then what I had was the demo, and then I bought the Unlocky because it was so pretty.
a lot of
But, like,
demos do that.
Yeah,
though.
but like that's the demo model that we're used to. And then with the other things that we're used to is DLCs coming. If it comes with a game, those DLCs would be all like wallpapers and avatars. That makes
Yeah.
sense. They're fluff. They don't do anything to the game. It looks cool. You want to look cool, you can look cool.
But the thing is, what EA has said is just that exactly what's been happening now and what we've seen the market go to, where you have the couple of exceptions where they botched it royally and actually it's just like, no, if you want to continue even the core storyline, you need to give us more money. But those are few and far between. Otherwise, it's for Mass Effect, it was a massive amount of lore, no doubt, but not critical lore.
But I think the other issue is
It's
like
like
you
a
could only get it
trend.
if you spent for the $100 version of the game, and if you still bought the $60 version, you still didn't get it.
That's what I like.
No,
that-
you were able to purchase it afterwards.
But the thing is, like, you got it for free for the $100 version.
That's what
the
I liked
collector's
about
edition.
the 13.2 DLCs. A lot of them were pre-order bonuses, but later on they all came out as DLCs. So
Right.
if you didn't manage to buy the pre-order, you can now get all those wallpapers or costumes that you missed out on the first time.
Actually,
and people don't mind that. It makes sense because you just missed lining up for who knows how long.
Exactly. I wasn't willing to put down $120 in one go for a video game. But you know what? Over the course of a couple of weeks playing through it, if I really enjoy it and I want to get like the extra stuff with it, yeah, I'll pay for that separately.
You know what makes sense to me though? If you're doing these like DLC unlocks where you get more and more of the game, for people who are really stingy and like how we don't know where the money's going. You claim that it's for the one level, right? Why don't you list how much the artists are getting?
But,
and that's one way of doing it.
But
Not
here's
being
the
very specific
but here's the
to this,
critical
but-
but here's the critical difference. What we have right now is not Freeverse. It is you pay your $60. Sometimes they usually do it right, and you have fun little fluff that you can pay extra for.
free
and-
soundtrack.
and-
Atlas is doing it.
Yeah, and you have the rare instances where they don't have the ending to the bloody game that you just paid for it, and they just want more money. But what EA is suggesting is that essentially what you have on various cell phone and tablet markets and everything, that here's the game, the first little bit of it. You want any more of it? Pay for it. Which
That
I
destroys games like Skyrim.
I kind of agree with it though.
Have you played Wizardry?
What?
Have you played dungeon crawlers like Wizardry?
Can I not just
There's
pay...
there's a whole section of the dungeon that's just closed off to you unless you pay that extra like $1.
Can I just pay one price and get the whole thing?
You get the whole game with plot.
Well, no,
It's just
you
a
will
dungeon.
you
It's
will
like a
obviously
level.
have that option. They'll always include that option.
Yeah.
But the reason why I at least I feel it makes sense is there's a lot of games that have come out where I've paid full ticket for them, and you both have probably run into it, where you've paid the full ticket price, you've gotten the whole game, and just gone, this wasn't worth even half of what I paid for it.
That's because of mismarketing on their
I
part.
haven't had that.
But,
I haven't had that feeling.
You really haven't to run into a game where you've paid money for it and just gone, you know what, I probably shouldn't have paid for this.
Hence why this is why reviewers come into the game.
Well, reviewers come
not
into
yet.
the game, but this allows for people to sort of make up their own minds and everything, because at the end of the day, whatever the reviewers you listening to are saying, you may disagree with them.
I think it's because the way I play games is
Look
I
at
try to
Model
look for the positives in each game. Like even if it has like a completely awful storyline, Magna Carta, Magna Carta 2.
How did that even happen?
The artwork is gorgeous. I mean Korean Magna Carta 2. North America it's #1, but the artwork is gorgeous. The scenery is gorgeous. They just don't match. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. They're also.
That's just the one game, but it's not like completely.
The problem is you also have people ruining that type of thing, where they start ruining the $60 title. EA once again is infamous for this, for releasing, especially with their sports franchises, the same game, especially with their Madden series.
Yeah.
Over and over again, and still charging the $60 premium when it's been shown.
Well, they've added sections. You can now manage the team. Do what...
Was this DLC? Because if it's paid DLC, I'm going to slap you.
No. It was in the core gameplay. You could just choose to skip over it and get back to the same game that you played.
They've had that for previous ones, didn't they?
Yeah, but when they introduced it, they were like, look, it's amazing, you're the manager now, and you can do
that's the thing.
useless logistical stuff that is completely boring and you don't actually want to do.
This is the part I argue with people, some of our friends who are like Call of Duty fans, and like, so what do you like about Black Ops? Like, oh, you get riot shields and batons. I'm like, did you get that in a previous game? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so it's not new. So what's new about the game? It's like,
It's essentially a map pack with some rebalanced weapons.
This is kind of odd because in the years that I've run Child's Play, right, there hasn't been as much sports games out there. Like it doesn't garner as much of an audience as like previous years. Like currently we only had one.
It's a different attitude. It's a completely different attitude.
No, what I'm saying is, what you're saying makes sense for why less and less people request it for Child's Play at the University of Toronto campus. It makes sense because it used to be when the game was newer, right? More people wanted to play it because of all the new stuff. But we're at the point where there's nothing really new to it. So no.
Well,
it's only the two diehards.
Well, here's the thing about sports games. Eventually, you're going to run out of things that you can add to it because you have the franchise on a disc and you're doing everything. You're managing the team. You're setting up the trades. You're taking a look at your finances. It's all happening. All of the background stuff that before you didn't have back in like the mid-90s, where it was just, here's the team, go and play. You now actually have like all the background stuff and how to run a sports franchise business. But there's a ceiling there. Mm-hmm. Eventually you're going to hit the part where you're just like, alright, everything that you can do in real life, you can do it in the game.
But here's the thing with that. That comes into creativity where they could just think about, hey, let's do something different. I mean, they do it for war titles. They're trying to do it for Black Ops 2. And it's just like, in 20 years, what is football going to be like? What do we see football?
Exactly the same thing.
How do we know? They could neuter the franchise. They could make the franchise bigger. There could be something else to it.
This is the difference between sports games and the run-of-the-mill gamer market, where a sports game, because it is essentially a simulator, once you've simulated reality, you've hit the ceiling, and anything else you add onto that, it's no longer going to appeal to the crowd that it's been appealing to before.
Lies! Dynasty Warriors! Dynasty Warriors is always crazy.
Dynasty Warriors is the same game every year.
Hey, there's that one year where they made them all go Super Saiyan. Like, at first you're playing, you're like, okay.
So the only change was
and then the guys all change crazy glowing, and then the girls turn into like freaking Tinkerbell and sparkled every time they did something.
They did eventually come out with a Gundam version of it,
Which
and that
was
one
the
made sense.
And then
But it was the same game.
That's
It-
what,
it
no,
was
that,
a-
that franchise is dying now because they swapped to Gundam versus Extreme. It's basically Gundam games done right. Mind you, you can level up in there, and it's
Wait, is it done right to where if I hit them once they explode and die and be smashed into bits?
No, that's
See, if
Dynasty
I have
Warriors.
that's the thing.
That's
it's not.
Dynasty Warriors. Whereas Gundam Extreme Versus, you actually have stats. If they and you have to actually break through other people's shields.
Okay.
And one Gundam can break into like three.
Okay. I was talking about Dynasty Warriors.
No, you're talking Dynasty Warriors.
Well, no.
Dynasty
Dynasty Warriors Gundam,
Gundam.
I enjoy
Gundam
it.
Muso. That's what it's called.
Gundam Muso or Dynasty Warriors Gundam, whatever you want to call it and everything, that series was the only Dynasty Warriors series I could get into, simply because, number one, it reminded me of my childhood. Because Lord knows that running around with the Yari spear and making the ground crack open every time I swung it was not part of my eight-year-old
But their
day-to-day.
their DLCs
But-
to this point are still all just costume based. Like even
Yeah.
the Gundams are all just costume based. You don't.
But they're
if
not
you,
direct clones. You do like
If
all
you-
of them have their own sort of unique play styles, attacks, and all
And
that.
if you pre-ordered, you would get 2 bonus characters. But they have their own little storylines and dialogue. So they're pulling the same thing that we're used to for like.
Well,
Yeah.
that's not as bad as cutting parts of the game and then selling it back, and that's the real issue here.
They've done that with Wizardry, but it's not actually.
But that's a
storyline
terrible
based.
thing. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's storyline based. Even
It's
cutting
just
a
like
major
bonus
character
dungeons.
from it is still kind of like unethical when he's part of the original game. If it was an add-on character you thought of later, that's one thing.
I actually like this concept though, because it's actually you're not if the game isn't released yet and there is no prequels and they've added 2 bonus characters because they're afterthoughts. They weren't actually.
That's if it's an afterthought.
Like they'll right off the bat tell you it's an afterthought. Did you know that Tifa in Final Fantasy VII was also an afterthought? There's an idea. If they did this with the Final Fantasy VII franchise in the remake and they tell you Tifa's an add-on character, now you know why.
Well, the thing is, I take your point and everything, in that it is a terrible thing that your core gameplay and everything, is neutered. That something that you should have gotten for paying full price is not there, but that's not what EA is suggesting. EA is suggesting that you're not paying anything. You're getting a little bit of the core gameplay, and if you want to continue, it's essentially like having a purchase code within a free demo.
But that ruins some of the great games that we're getting
Like
now.
what?
Like Skyrim. That ruins Skyrim.
You play through the first you play through the first half hour of Skyrim. If you liked it, you purchase the whole thing.
I already purchased the whole thing, is what I'm saying.
No, but the thing is, if you had purchased all of Kingdoms of Amalur in one go, the Kingdoms of Amalur actually did it the best, and I think if they follow, if what EA is suggesting follows that sort of ideal, it will work well, because Kingdoms of Amalur, its demo wasn't just one level and you have like a preset thing. No, you had the beginning of the game. It said play for half an hour, however slow, however fast, however you want to do it. You have a half hour to play this game.
Only half.
And that was the demo. And if you liked it, you purchased the game. And if you didn't, you were down half hour and a little bit of bandwidth. That was it. And I think that is what EA
Do you
is...
actually think they're going to be doing that? 'Cause I
They
haven't.
probably won't. Ideally, they will.
They
But
used to do that.
even in the current market, where you have DLCs that work very well, you still have issues where they've cut out the core gameplay, or they've cut out the ending.
But here's the thing,
they want more
in
money
the way
for.
games work now, there are some games we know are going to be good. Like, people knew Diablo 3 was going to be excellent gameplay, regardless of what it was.
But it
People
was the
knew
same gameplay from Diablo 2, just
It
with
actually
upright graphics.
it actually switched up a bit. It
Come
did.
on.
There was a lot that they streamlined it a lot.
But what you described.
True.
And sorry, I was actually continuing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Bethesda, almost anything, you know it's going to be glitchy though, but you know whatever Bethesda makes is going to be awesome.
But here's the thing, Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead are both made by the same developer.
And they were both amazing.
They were both amazing games, but my personal taste, I couldn't get into Red Dead.
I loved Red Dead.
It had a great storyline, don't get me wrong, I love the storyline in it, but the gameplay to it and everything, I vastly preferred Grand Theft Auto.
But can I ask you?
And I just
Can I
couldn't
ask
get
you
into
something,
Red Dead.
though?
I'm not a Western guy.
Was that game not worth its price though?
For me personally, it wasn't, because I just couldn't get into it.
See, now that's the other issue. You personally, maybe not, but that doesn't mean it still wasn't worth the money.
But you should. But what I'm saying is, and I think what EA is saying is that people should be allowed the chance to decide for themselves at no cost.
We have that. It's called a free demo.
What you guys
But-
kind of described earlier, what makes sense is it sounds like the rental concept of Blockbusters, where you get the half hour to play as far as you can.
That's not what freemium. Freemium is that you play a bit of the game. $10 you unlock this part. $10 you unlock this part. Eventually, you're not paying the $60 price that we initially paid. You're paying $200 to $300 for the whole game.
Which is why what they have to introduce is basically just you have your choice of doing it as micro purchases or just as a package purchase.
The micro purchases is exactly what I just said, and that's the reason why that doesn't work.
And that's why I'm saying that what they end in that is allowing for a grand total package purchase rather than just micro purchases. I know what EA is saying that they want
You know how
just
like
that.
the sign of a good game is not just immersion, but like a sign of agency to the character,
It's
to the guys
engaging.
playing.
It needs to be
It
engaging.
engages you in such a way that you're given the illusion of agency as.
Right.
But because
You think you have a choice in the game's ending.
Yeah, you think you can like actually do so much in the world in the game that you can actually modify its ending.
Hell reach.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, but if you as a consumer, when you start having these microtransactions in it, you might take away from the gameplay because you'll be constantly reminded, oh, I'm actually in my living room. I've spent X amount of time getting here, and then you'll start raging.
But these are all just
automatically you'll start.
it will take that.
it's
these
the
are all just
frustration.
concepts of games. Like if I start playing Tetris and I only allowed one block and I have to pay $5 for each additional block, you laugh now, but if they actually did that, how pissed would you be?
Well, not to that degree,
They're
but like
doing
no,
that
after you get to level 10, they ask you for another $4 to continue leveling and everything. No, I agree with you. It's ridiculous, and it's probably
And it's not even just games where it gives you a choice. It could be a simple whatever game. I don't know.
you mean like the ones on this?
I'm
Because that is exactly
Yeah,
the case.
or-
But if microtransactions every place that I want to get.
Yeah,
and
but those
everything.
games, like I said, those are free.
But no. But
But-
that's exactly what
But
EA is
here-
offering as well.
But here's the. I don't think so, because with those ones, you don't have to purchase the best, because you have a car one on there.
Yeah.
You could play with just one car that whole game. With the other one, you could essentially play without spending a dime.
Possibly, yeah.
Like League of Legends, you can play that whole thing without spending any. That's a MOBA.
Yeah.
And
But-
like when it starts getting to the point where if I want to advance a little bit, I gotta pay a price and I gotta keep paying, and eventually once it adds up, it adds up to 3 times that of what we're paying now for
I
a
think
full
that
game.
there should be a limit, a standardized limit. Let's say what we're used to is like $60, right?
Yeah,
for a
that's
short
what we're
game.
used
Let's
to.
say it's a short game. It's about like I don't know,
That's
13
just
hours.
a, that,
13. Let's say it's a 13-hour game, right?
Sure.
Estimate. And you divide, and then you make it $60. And then like as you play the game, they'll tell you right off the bat that it's $60 for the full game. But if you want to just try it out, then you pay the first, let's say $10.
I'd rather not. If I'm gonna try it out, I'm trying it out for free.
Yeah.
Like if you want me to.
But that's exactly
Yeah,
what
as
they're
a-
offering as the first step.
Like
You're
you try it out for
obviously.
free.
But they've
and
had
then,
that now.
And then they stop. at
They've
10.
always had that. We've
Yeah.
had free demos for the longest time.
Yeah, free
Yeah.
demos is fine, but then like let's say you get to a certain point, and then instead of being like, oh, to advance the story, you pay $10. You right off the bat know at what point that you're gonna head towards the the frustrating part of the game. I don't know, like right before or rather than right before the boss fight, they'll tell you within dialogue that this is the point where if you want to continue the game.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but
Like-
but as a demo,
No,
that's
but
what they do.
I think that
Or they-
is like.
It's
Because-
less frustrating than you getting right up to the getting all the way to
But
the area where
that's
the boss
one
fight
of the great things about games is the challenge. If
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
to a frustrating point, the thing is there's 2 different types of frustrating. There's frustrating to where this person didn't think about the game mechanics and they sucked. and they were broken, and then there's frustrating like what Dark Souls does, and then it's frustrating that because it's difficult, and if you die, it's because you're not good enough yet.
I thought the
You
game
have to get better
designers
at it.
were just sadistic, but okay.
They were. They
Yeah,
made the game
it's-
exuberantly difficult, but
on
here's the
purpose.
thing.
Yeah, on purpose.
You don't feel like it's the game killing you because the mechanics don't work. It's the game killing you because it's really hard and you gotta get better at it. That's the
Yeah.
way Dark Souls works.
Yeah.
And by the way, that game sold gangbusters. That thing was amazing. And it sold really well.
And people that beat it within a day resold it immediately and then they got bragging rights because they got all the trophies.
That is ridiculous. First of all, you shouldn't be buying a game. There are games that are 5 hours that are worth $60.
Yeah.
It is not about the quantity of hours, it is the quality of hours. Just because Skyrim's 200 hours isn't the reason it's worth $60.
It doesn't make Skyrim a better game than the first Portal.
Or
No.
they tell you where the money goes. And like right off the bat they'll tell you the first $10 goes to the, let's say, the concept art.
It doesn't
Next
matter
$10
where it
goes to the character
It
design.
doesn't matter where it goes. Everyone at that point got their money. It's
Next-
the publishers who are the distributors who are getting the money at that point.
Oh,
Everyone
no.
else has gotten their paycheck.
And then if people really don't like the distributor, right at the last $10, you'll be like, nope. Or you can pick who to pay first.
I still
No,
don't
no,
like
it's-
that. I
it's
just
not.
like going in, I like
Well-
purchasing it. If I don't like it,
So,
whatever.
so you're very obviously highly against this.
Yes.
I'm iffy. I'd want to see it tested within a control group and see how what the control group feels about it. Because also this is limited. If it's limited to the North American market, it might be more welcome in like overseas
Well-
markets. Because we're in Canada and we have our opinions on it.
Yeah.
It might not apply to
Yeah,
US
because
concept.
purchasing attitudes and everything are different in other markets. Myself, I'm reserved on it. I want to see exactly what sort of a business model they're going
But
to go on, whether they whether they allow for that sort of bulk purchase and everything, or if
Yeah.
the only option that they offer is these microtransactions. Because if that's the case, I'm in your boat with you. But the problem, the reason why I'm leaning towards against this is actually exactly what you mentioned, which is you're going to lose your immersion. That you're going to
Yeah.
play to a certain point, and especially if it's a good title, and they only allow for microtransactions, even if I'm willing to give them the money as I play. If I'm into the game and I suddenly can't go and I have the
Because you
little
get this
thing going,
pop-out.
it's like, oh, what's your credit card number? Yeah, that's going to break things for me.
It's the same.
It's really gonna
Yeah.
break things for you.
It's the same concept that I was trying to figure out if they continue doing this in MMOs, it'll probably be fine.
See-
But in an MMO, if you did these microtransactions, it might deter gold
He-
farmers.
here's the
it
thi-
actually might deter them, maybe. Yeah.
Here's the thing, gold farming is not like the biggest issue right
Because
now.
the gold farmers in Final Fantasy XIV have actually been deterred because you have all these time stop constraints.
Really, it isn't because that game's crap that they were deterred?
No, I mean currently because it has a story now. Like they've actually
But
got.
that game is still like not.
It's
not gonna
it was
recover.
an unfinished game. No, it's recovering right now.
They're gonna release another MMO, like Final Fantasy 16 will be another MMO. Because like
so far it's,
11 was the MMO
because
initially.
right now
Yeah, and
Which is-
it was successful.
Yeah.
Which is still better than 14.
Yeah, but 14 is getting all these good reviews for the fact that the game balance is doing well because of these time constraints. Because it's actually deterring gold farmers. Because gold farmers want cash quick. They're impulsive. I'm sorry, gold farmers, if you guys are watching, but this is just your
You know,
psychological
I'm just gonna say this right now. I'm like gold farm. If you're so obsessed with this game that you're gold farming, which is an illegal thing to do in the game, then sorry, that's not like a valid reason.
Unless
for-
you're in China and in prison, then it's completely legal. World of Warcrafting prisoners. Hi guys.
Yeah, really, you can't sell it to guys in North America.
It's
If you
okay,
start
but they-
buying gold from guys in North America,
think-
you get like kicked from the game.
I think they got it when people said, you know, gold farming is like hell on earth, and then they were like, oh, it's a great idea. Prisoners, every day you must make
If-
X amount of gold via farming. By the
I'm-
way, chat is disabled.
By the way, it's an MMORPG. If you're buying gold online to be purchased in the game, you're already playing the game wrong. I'm just gonna say that right now. I'm sorry. I never really like saying that you're playing the game wrong.